Hi everyone. So I wanted to address a few things before I start this next topic, but I'm trying to work on the volume thing. I know it's very low, and I'll start kind of upgrading the way I edit it, or if I add intros, whatever I decide to do, but definitely I'll fix the volume. I know I'm a very quiet person, so I also know I say a lot, and I say right. Well, like let's think about that for a second. So I say Why am I saying Because I'm trying to keep you along in the conversation. I'm trying to see if you are actually thinking about what I'm saying here. But see, I said to see it's like a check kind of thing, and it's kind of like bad wording if you want to say that, but it'll get easier. I'll find more words. Right now I'm still pretty awkward. And I say right because what is right? Remember, it's the right. So it's the yin realm. That's what I'm like tapping into. It's why I look down. I'm getting information from down, getting information from up. You see these different directions. We'll get into that in another video. But today I kind of wanted to talk about portals. Okay, so what is a portal? Well, the definition of portal is pretty much a gateway. It's a door. It's, a hole, and it leads you to somewhere else. I think everybody can kind of understand that, right? So now let's talk about going into a portal. What do you do? So, you get just like a black hole, right? That black hole's coming, right? And it's pulling you in. Why is it pulling you in? It's because you have a certain level of density, and it's pulling that density towards it because it has a higher density. Okay? So now we can infer that with other people. You see? So what happens when... Well, actually, let's finish this first. You go in the portal, right? Let's say it pulled you in. It's like a spiral of gravity too, or it could be in a single direction, whatever way you did it, right? So you got pulled in, you go through to something else. Something else. Let's just keep it as that. So now you go into a church. What is happening? You're opening a door. You're going into that portal. You're going into that building, to that foundation. It's to something more dense than you. Okay? And now there's energies assigned within there. There's, maybe in a church it could be of a higher vibration, but it also could be lower. It very much depends on who's in that church, who is giving that certain energy, right? And so now you understand that like everywhere you go is a portal. You go into Safeway, that's a different energy than you go to Walmart. And it may be tied to physical things like, oh, Safeway doesn't have the stuff you like, but Walmart has it. Sam's Club's cheaper, So then there's these different incentives to pull you in, just like I was talking about with money. Okay, so now let's talk about another, a person comes over to you, okay? So now think about it as like a duality. Just one thing. And then another thing comes in and it's circling you, right? Because you're still within your space. You moved over a certain spot, but they're revolving around you, kind of thing. It's because they are not part of you, So now they're revolving around you. What happens when you get revolved on something? You start to understand it. You speak with that other person. You have some sort of attachment to that other person, maybe built up over time, or maybe happening instantly, right? So, you're just revolving around that person, and then they can get closer, or they can be, pushed farther apart. But that's kind of like the same concept as, let's say in some religious people think that like praying and holding their hands and sending good energy through their hands helps, your pain. And that happens with Reiki. Same concept. You're putting a certain energy and you're trying to give it to that someone. It's because you're super close, and then you can touch that thing. You can give that thing something else, and maybe that something else is positive, but that something else can also be negative. And so just, you guys start to watch out, what portals are you being drawn into? You realize it, that is why you don't like everybody, because they're all different. They hold a different weight to them. They hold a different element, different heat or temperature to them, all these things, so you go around, someone that's like a Leo, or someone that's just fiery, someone that's aggressive, someone that's erratic or spontaneous, or whatever you want to say. You go to someone like that, and then you're like, you feel it, right? Because it's such a high vibration, whether it be egotistical or just out of love or hate. They hold that energy strongly, so then they push it upon you. Now, this is the same concept as what happens when you get into altercations. You didn't like that energy. That energy did something you didn't like, and you may have tied it to something physical or something mental and emotional. And that is what dictates whether you liked it or not. Maybe you encountered that person before multiple times, and you just didn't like them. You didn't mess with them. That is a portal. And then you can look at that, what happens in space. And then you start to think about, well, then what are the planets? And these are the things I'm trying to make you guys kind of understand here. We'll get into later, about the planets and stuff, but let's talk about it from what's the word? Let's just the birthing process. Let's just say that. So, what happened? Okay, so a sperm, right? That sperm was a specific thing. It was, you could say, entity, because an entity is just a thing in a certain space, right? It was a certain thing or a certain spirit, and that certain thing had different ideas than the other ones. Maybe it was a little faster, maybe it pushed the other ones out of the way. Whatever it did, okay, it got there. It got to that point faster than anybody else. So it made its way through. It breached, okay? And that's the one that went into the egg, right? So now what is that? What does it do around the egg? It finds a spot, and then it starts to creep in. It starts to go into the orb, go into the portal, go into the circle. And then it was attracted by that. So you guys can relate that to space now. But it went into that orb, and then it starts getting developed within that orb. It needs body parts, it needs a brain, it knows how to make these things. Why do you think it knows how? That's later, but it knows, right? So it gets developed, and then what happens? You leave this portal, you leave your mother, and you go out into another portal. You see, that's why that's a hole too. That's why that's a circle too. And whatever, oval, whatever. So it comes out, and then it shines light. So now that next illusion is placed on you instantly. And then that's what you call reality. So, I know it's a lot to start to understand, but you guys got to think about these things. Okay, what are my eyes doing? Right? They are taking information that I see, and they're taking it back in. Okay? So now we understand that. Now understand that, okay, my eyes see only because I can see this certain level of light, or let's just say that, a certain level of light. So it's still an illusion, still a creation. It's something. What is shining that light? You see? So, now you are just taking in for information of this light. You're looking around. You're interacting with things. Then you could feel things. these different senses. And then what happens when you die? Well, see, this one's harder to explain. Or let's start with dreaming first, okay? So let's say you shut down your portals of your eyes, okay, or your spaces that consume things, and you now go within. And now that you're within, whatever you learned, whatever you see people that you know in your dreams, you see like tables or things, objects that you have seen before. Okay, and now you get to play with those. Okay, you can control your dreams, but sometimes people don't control them. Sometimes people get lost in that light of that dream. You see, so now if you can control it, you can start to create things with all whatever you have playing with it, right? And then you start to realize, well, like I can only create what I'm around all the time, or what I understand fully, or what I know, right? So then you want more things to add to that space. And this is the concept of like why we're here. We're just trying to add new shit. We want a different perspective this time, so that we have a different energy frequency that we can hit, and then it can take it to it. You see? So that's kind of where I'm saying is where we're going to kind of go. So if it's your hell, then you still have to understand that you threw those things into it. You threw those energies in it. So you're going to you're going to play it in those scenarios. You might keep dying or falling off a ledge, or you might, keep fighting with someone, whatever. And until you take a step back and realize, I control this. Fuck that. I'm not gonna, get consumed by that. Then you start to leave. You wanna go back into a different, realm or a different environment so that you can, obtain more things. And that's kind of a lot for one video. I hope you guys kind of stuck with me. I do all my videos off of a kind of freestyle, because that's what I feel holds the best energy. I can't really, I can't just write it down. It won't work. That's why I say a lot of that's why I might pause, but I hope I get across to you guys in some way, and I hope you enjoyed. But bye.